Can you able to zoom some more, little more further?
Is it okay?
Yes, Father. Yeah, fine.
Can you read now? Can you read now?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, Father. We can.
Is it enough?
Yes. Enough, Father. Yeah, thank you.
Can you see me?
Yeah, Father, we can see you.
Okay, okay.
Hello, mic test.
Test, 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 test.
Yes.
So, it's getting time now. It's just 11 o'clock now. Shall we pay attention and begin the session? Thank you. Dear friends, welcome back to the second session of the day. The speaker of this session is Dr. Shaji German. Reverend Dr. Shaji German is a priest of the Diocese of Quilon. He is a professor of Canon Law at Pontifical Institute, Alva. He holds doctorate and postdoctoral diploma in Canon Law from the University Santa Croce, Rome. He has obtained MA in Secular History from Kerala University and licentiate in Biblical Theology from Pontifical Institute, Alva. He serves also as Secretary to the Commission for Canon Law of KRL CBC, HOD of the Department of Latin Language and Cultural Studies of Research Institute of Carmelgiri. He is a judicial vicar of the Diocese of Quilon. Recently, he has published the books A Guide to the Reformed Penal Laws of the Catholic Church, Amendments of Pope Francis, and Latin Language Grammar. Dear audience, it's a time for our speaker to share his thoughts on today's topic, Crimes and Penalties introduced by the revision. May I request Reverend Dr. John Peter, the Rector of Prabodhana, to moderate this session. We have this session till 11:45 and 15 minutes will be allotted for clarification and question answer session. Over to Reverend Dr. Shaji German.
Thank you, Father. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Drop.
Yes. Very Reverend Provincial Rectors, Very Reverend Father John Peter Lasser, Rector of Prabodhana and moderator of this session, Reverend Superiors, Reverend Sisters, Brothers, Reverend Dr. Ignatius Ekka, the former speaker, Reverend Father Rajesh Ummikuri, the coordinator of this program, and Reverend Sisters and Brothers and all the participants online and offline. So I'm happy and thankful that you gave me this opportunity to present a paper in your August academic event, Crimes and Penalties introduced by the revision. You know, recently my article was published in Justitia, the journal published by Dharmaram Institute, and you can refer to this article in which I have mentioned all the changes Pope Francis has made on the book 6 of CIC, all the omissions, additions, and changes in the canons of book 6 of CIC. So I have also recently published a small booklet, especially for the seminarians, the major changes Pope has made on this book 6 penal laws of the Catholic Church. And I'm happy that today from the press a new book will come, a guide to the reformed penal laws of the Catholic Church. So that will be available from tomorrow for the audience. So I appreciate very much Dr. Ignatius Ekka. In the former session, I was attending the whole session, and he was explaining beautifully and systematically the reasons for the revision, the context, the principles of revision, the reasons for the revision, and the procedures, how in a collegial spirit, how the revision was made. So congratulations to Dr. Ignatius Ekka for the wonderful, systematic, and beautiful presentation, which gives a real background to all the other sessions today and to the other days to come. Since Father presented the whole background, I don't go to the explanations of the Constitution, Pascite Gregem Dei. The name of the Constitution is Pascite Gregem Dei, tend the flock of God, through which this revision was made. So I have given an introduction. The whole introduction was given by Father Ignatius Ekka. So I leave the introduction, I go directly into the text. So my topic is additions and omissions in the revised text. The first change is change in the title itself, title of book 6 of CIC. Penal laws are those laws that impose certain penalties at the transgression or committance of an offense. The 1917 code, the penal laws were given under the title on delicts and penalties. CIC 1983 gave the title Sanctions in the Church. But the Oriental Code 1990 modified the title with Penal Sanctions in the Church. Now you just observe Pope Francis by the Apostolic Constitution amended the book 6 of CIC with the title Penal Sanctions in the Church. Now we have the same name, the same title in both Latin code and the Oriental code, penal sanctions in the church. So now from 8th December of 2021, the present penal sanction in the church is abrogated. So now our brothers have the Canon law book. You know that the book 66 is no more valid. All the numbers are changed. So for the examination, you have to go through the new revised text, because the present one which is in your hand, it is no more valid. It is abrogated. Now changes in the titles. So in the part second of the book, almost all the titles are changed. Particular offences and the penalties established for them. The former title was Penalties for Particular Offences. Title 1, Offences Against Faith and Unity of the Church. The former title was Offences Against Religion and Unity of the Church. Title 2, Offences Against Church Authorities and Exercise of Duties. Former title was Offences Against Church Authorities and the Freedom of the Church. Then title 3rd, it's very important, Offences Against Sacraments. It's a new title. It was not there. So all the offences against sacraments which are scattered in under different titles, they are all brought together under one title. Now it is very clear. The clarity is there. So when brothers or sisters or who are interested in canon law, when you read it, it's very clear what are the offences against sacraments. Then 4th one, offences against reputation and offences of falsehood. Former title was just false accusation. Then offences against special obligations. It is not changed. Then 6th title, offences against human life, dignity and liberty. Okay. The title was Offences Against Human Life and Liberty. Under this title, what Father Eka has also mentioned, offences against minors, the abuse of minors, Canon 1398 it is given. But there is no change in the total number of canons. So we have from 1311 till 1399, the total number of canons remains the same. Okay. Now, so another addition in the new code of canon law, responsibility of the head of a church. It's very important. So it's a new addition. The one who is at the head of a church, especially bishops and major archbishops, patriarchs, etc., must safeguard and promote the good of the community itself, and each of Christ's faithful through pastoral charity, example of life, advice and exhortation, if necessary also through the imposition or declaration of penalties in accordance with the provisions of the law, which are always to be applied with canonical equity, and having in mind, so in the introductory talk, Father has mentioned the 3 important aims of penal law: restoration of justice, reform of the offender, and repair of the scandal. So when we apply penal laws, these 3 are the main principles. Now it is very clear in the revision. It should be aimed at anyone is punished. So the aim should be restoration of justice, reform of the offender, and repair of the scandal. And I have given a comparison in the Oriental Code 1401. This is already existing in the Oriental Code. Now it is integrated into the Latin Code. Now, another addition, modification, innocent until person proved guilty. This sentence was added, any person is considered innocent until the contrary is proved. See, this is important because there are a lot of false allegations on pedophilia. So many priests are suffering. So many religious are suffering. So many teachers are suffering because false allegations on the authorities on pedophilia. Now they are to be immediately suspended. They are to be handed over to the police, etc. But now Pope has clearly mentioned nobody should be considered guilty unless the person is proved guilty. He may be suspended, but after some time we have to do the process and we have to give sufficient space for the person to speak out and justify himself to prove his innocence. That's why that Canon is given. Person is to be considered innocent until contrary is proved. Now, penalties and other punishments in Title 4. Penalties and other punishments. So, brothers, you might have studied in your canon law classes about the penalties. You know, there are in Latin Code of Canon Law, there are two kinds of penalties: medicinal penalties and expiatory penalties. Medicinal penalties are also called censures. So medicinal penalty means a penalty is given so that a person is converted. See, for example, a seminarian has copied in the exam and he is given 1 year, 2 more years regency. 1 more year regency is added. A punishment is given so that he understands the mistake, he corrects himself. That is called a medicinal penalty. Now, expiatory penalty, the second type, expiatory penalty means penalties are given so that a compensation is to be made for the harm and it should be a lesson for others. For example, another seminary has copied, he is sent out of the seminary because it has been his habit. So that is called an expiatory penalty. Now, medicinal penalties or censures are of three types: excommunications, suspensions, interdicts. These are the three medicinal penalties are given. These are explained in our canons. Now, what is excommunication? It's a censure by which a Christian is excluded from the communion with the faithful within the limits determined by the law. Excommunication can be late sententiae and ferende sententiae. Late sententiae is an automatic punishment. Ferende sententiae, an imposed punishment. Excommunication can be reserved or unreserved. Then excommunication. So in the Oriental Code of Canon Law, they have abolished late sententiae. Brothers, you know it already. You may have already studied. It is not existing in the Oriental Code. Now, in the Oriental Code, on the contrary, they have excommunication major and excommunication minor. They don't call late sententiae punishments. Many canonists have expected that, so in the revision also, late sententiae penalties may be abolished, might be abolished, but it did not happen. Even in the new revision, the late sententiae punishments continue to exist. Now, Canon 1331. So the excommunication is explained. So now, so as Father also mentioned, one of the important characteristics of this revision is clarity. Clarity for the canonist and those who apply canon law. For example, it had only 1331 paragraph 2 had only 3 numbers. Now they are given with precision and clarity in 6 numbers. Suppose now you read the revision, it is very clear what are the prohibitions of an excommunicated person. For example, from celebrating if a priest is excommunicated or a person is excommunicated, prohibitions are the person is prohibited from celebrating the sacrifice of Eucharist or the sacraments, from receiving the sacraments, from administering sacramentals, and from celebrating the other ceremonies of liturgical worship, from taking part in the celebration listed above, from exercising any ecclesiastical office, duties, ministries, or functions, from performing acts of governance. So it is explained with great clarity. Now, see another important characteristics in the old book 6. Very often it was punishments were for clerics. Most of the punishments were concentrated on clerics. Now, in many places, the term clerics is removed. That means punishments are applicable to everyone, clerics, religious, or lay persons. Now, the paragraph 2, if a ferende sentence excommunication has been imposed or a late sentence excommunication declared, the offender, some modification have been made. And the fourth one is an addition. It does not acquire any remuneration held in virtue of a mere ecclesiastical title. If the person has ferende sententiae or late sententiae, he does not acquire any remuneration from his ecclesiastical title. Now, 1332 speaks about interdict. So, what is an interdict? A punishment. It's a medicinal penalty imposed on the member of a church by which he or she is forbidden. For example, from celebrating the sacrifice of the Eucharist or the sacraments, from receiving the sacraments, from administering sacramentals, and from celebrating other ceremonies of liturgical worship, from taking an active part in the celebrations listed above. So it may look similar, excommunications and interdicts, but in excommunication, the person is given the same punishments and he remains out of the church. But interdict, the person does not remain out of the church, but he has the same punishments. Okay. Now in Canon 1332, one who is under interdict is obliged by the prohibitions mentioned in 1331, number 1, 1 to 4, and 2 and 3 new additions. Okay, these are all technical aspects. When you read slowly, you can understand. Okay, now I go to 1333 about suspension. Suspension. So suspension is a medicinal penalty by which a person is asked to put a stop for the time being. It is to debar or cause to withdraw temporarily for any privilege, office, or function. It's a temporary punishment. If a person is suspended, the temporary punishment is given. Now the prohibitions of suspension are all or some acts of the power of order, all or some of the acts of power of governance, the exercise of all or some rights or functions attaching to an office. See, very clearly it is given. What are the prohibitions of excommunication? What are the prohibitions of interdict? What are the prohibitions of suspension? Are very clearly given in the revision. That is the about correction and conversion of the person. It is also for the deterrence of a sinful behavior. So that a penalty is given, it's a correction for the person, for compensation, and for a lesson for others. Now I have given an example. Ipso facto dismissal of a religious who is illegitimately absent from the religious institute for 12 consecutive months. This is an amendment by the Pope in 2019, March 19, in Communis Vita. For example, many of you are, I know you are religious participants. See now a new addition, 694, paragraph 1, number 3. If a religious illegitimately absent from the religious institute, we do not know where he is, for 12 months, then he is automatically he is the religious institute. The person is automatically dismissed from the institute. Dismissed. If ipso facto dismissal of religion, that means automatically dismissed from the religious institute. Now from Canon 1336, so when you go ahead, in several places now reference to 1336 because expiatory penalty. See, as Father Eka mentioned in the introduction, earlier there were so many options were given. Punishments may be given a just penalty according to the discretion of the authority, according to the conscience of the authority. Now all these are mostly they are removed. Now for any penalty you refer to 1336. For any offense refer to 1336. Expiatory penalty has to be given. So it is clear for the superiors, clear for the bishops, etc. Now expiatory penalties are see, so clearly it is given in the revision. It can be first of all an order to reside in a certain place or territory. Then another is an addition to pay a fine or sum of money for church purposes in accordance with the guidelines established by the Episcopal Conference. For example, now the financial administrator of your religious institute or a diocese makes money mismanagement. He has spent a lot of money. Now bishop can ask him to pay back the money. A fine can be taxed on him. Now it can be a prohibition against residing in a certain place or territory, against exercising certain office, against what I have underlined. All these are new additions. Against performing all or some acts of the power of order, against performing all or some acts of the power of governance. See, these are additions, whatever is underlined. Then, against an active or passive voice in canonical elections, or taking part with the right to vote in ecclesial council colleges, against wearing ecclesiastical religious dress. Okay, if a person is punished, so he or she can be asked not to wear religious dress. Then it can be a deprivation. Expiatory penalty can be a deprivation of all or some of the officers, duties, ministries, functions, of the faculty of hearing confessions or of preaching, delegated power of governance, of some right or privilege or insignia or title, of all ecclesiastical remuneration, part of it, etc. So it can be an order, it can be a prohibition, it can be a deprivation, an expiatory penalty. Last one, it can be a dismissal from the clerical state. So two kinds of penalties. One is medicinal penalty. Medicinal penalty is of three types: excommunication, suspension, interdict. Expiatory penalty, it can be an order, it can be a prohibition, it can be a deprivation, it can be a dismissal from clerical status. So these are the two types of penalties revised in the new revision of the penal laws. Now, chapter 3 speaks about penal remedies and penances. Now, penal remedy is a formal quasi-penal measure employed to protect a community against a delict. So that means a formal measure is taken so that a community does not commit a delict. For example, the superior gives an instruction so that they follow the discipline and so they don't make mistakes in the community. A penance can be an act imposed as a reparation for the sin or crime committed by a person. So, somebody is asked to do a penance for when a sin or crime is committed. Now, penal remedies can be warning or correction. So, for a superior, when someone is in a proximate occasion of committing an offense, or after investigation there is a serious suspicion an offense has been committed, then the ordinary can give the person a warning. That's why before a religious is dismissed, we say there should be at least 3 warnings are to be given. First warning, 15 days, second warning, 15 days, third warning, 15 days, etc. Then correction. The case of behavior which gives rise to scandal or serious disturbance of public order, the ordinary can give correction of a person. Then, whenever warning or correction is given, there should be a proof. Religious superiors to always take care. Whenever you take an action, there should be always a proof should be kept in the file. So, for the later proof. Then, fourth one, when no effect, penal precept is given. So, correction is given, warning is given, then a penal precept. That means if you don't correct, such and such punishments will be followed. That is penal precept. That's a new addition. Then vigilance over the offender. So it is a duty of the superior. Suppose somebody is given a warning to keep vigilance, keeping him in a particular house. So keeping him under vigilance is an important responsibility of the superiors. Then Canon 1362 speaks about prescription of criminal actions. See now, Canon 30, prescription means something changes by the time. For example, in civil law, somebody is living in our land. After some years, they have right. That's why we in Malayalam we say Patayam. No, they have the right over the land. Patayam. They can claim for the right to stay in our land. So that's why by the lapse of time, people get rights or loses rights. That is called prescription. Now there are some changes were made in the penal prescription in the new revision. A criminal 1362, a criminal action is extinguished by prescription after 3 years. After 3 years, it will be extinguished, except for the cases reserved to the Congregation of the Doctrine of Faith. Then second one, prescription in particular offences, 1376, 1377, 78, 93, 94. These are all about financial matters. So they will be extinguished only after 7 years. Until now it was for 5 years. Now, one arising from the offences mentioned in 1398, which is extinguished after 20 years. That is a new addition. That means offences against minors, if a case takes place, that will remain until 20 years. Only after 20 years, so that will be, the person can be freed from it. Okay. Then other offences, then calculation of prescription, suspension of prescription, etc. Okay, now I go into the part second. Most of the changes are being made in the part second. Particular offences and penalties established for them. So I have struck off the change of the titles. Now, Canon 1370 speaks about the physical force against Roman pontiff, bishop, cleric, religious. See, now a new addition, very interesting. Faithful is also added. Earlier, somebody attacks a Roman pontiff could be punished. bishop could be punished, cleric, suppose somebody attacks a priest or deacon could be punished, a religious could be punished. Now, even if somebody attacks a lay faithful, he can be punished. For example, the parish priest attacks a parishioner. So now, according to the new tradition, that parish priest can be punished for that that offense. But this is already existing in the Oriental Code. In the Oriental, it is there. Now, 71.4, a new addition, violation of pontifical secret. You know pontifical secret. Suppose now the investigation to choose a bishop, the investigation is going on, and then many get letters. We have to write to the nunciature. All of us are bound to keep pontifical secret. Now, a new addition in canon law is given. If anybody violates pontifical secret, he can be given punishment in 1336 expiatory penalty. Another addition, failing to execute an executive sentence. Somebody is asked to do an executive sentence and he doesn't apply it, he can be punished. 1371 paragraph 6, negligence to report an offense. So there are authorities who are asked to give report to the offenses. For example, pedophilia. A parish priest does not report to the bishop. The authorities can be punished. 1372 speaks about hindering freedom. Now it is reorganized into two canons. One is hindering the freedom of ministry. Second, hindering the freedom of election. And all this, the punishment was just penalty. Now a clear punishment is given, the punishment according to 1336, that is expiatory penalty, that is order, prohibition, deprivation, or dismissal from clerical states. Then 1337, penalties and obligations of repairing the harm. See, that is another stress of this revision. If somebody commits an offense, he is also asked to repair the harm done. For example, one, stealing of ecclesiastical goods. It can be a priest, religious, or lay person. Somebody is stealing ecclesiastical goods can be punished. Then unlawful alienation of ecclesiastical goods. Suppose that father also has mentioned in the introductory talk. Suppose the superior or financial administrator or the religious congregation or diocese, suppose alienates or sells ecclesiastical goods without proper discussion and consent, it can be punished. Then 1377 paragraph 1, it's a new addition, giving, promising, or receiving something to act unlawfully, to get a job, to get an office. You give a lot of money, bribing, the person can be punished. Requesting offerings beyond what is determined. For example, we know what is the mass stipend or what people have to pay for to celebrate a mass, and the parish priest is requesting more money from the people than what is determined. The priest or the person can be punished. So these are some additions added in the in the new revised penal laws. Now, title 3rd, offenses against sacraments. So I mentioned now offenses against sacraments. Now there is a great clarity. What are the offenses against sacraments? 79 to 89. Then so they are given late sententia interdict or late sententia suspension. We know late sententia is automatic punishment. The first one, attempting to celebrate the Eucharist. So what is struck off is the old number. So attempting to, suppose a seminarian or a deacon tries to attempt to celebrate the Eucharist, so he can be punished. Attempting to administer, this was already there, only the number is changed. Attempting to administer sacramental absolution. So it can be a seminarian or deacon or layperson sitting in the confessional trying to give absolution, he can be punished. Then third one, sacred ordination on a woman. Sacred ordination on a woman. So very serious punishment. Late sententia excommunication reserved to the apostolic see. It was not there, now added. So now you know there were already 5 delicts reserved to the apostolic see. So they are offenses against the Pope. Using sacred species for sacrilegious purposes, ordination of a bishop without pontifical mandate, and then breaking the sacramental seal, absolving a partner in sin against sixth commandment, five offences which incur latte sentence excommunication reserved to the apostolic see. Now one more is added: sacred ordination of a woman, which incurs latte sentence excommunication reserved to the apostolic see. And then another addition: administering sacraments to prohibited persons. Suppose you administer sacrament to forbidden groups. Okay, so giving Eucharist to people of other religion, Pentecostal groups, etc. We know in Canon 844 there is we speak about sharing of sacraments. We can give communion to Jacobite people, Orthodox people in case of a necessity when they have no church, no ministers. So we can share sacraments. But other than that, to the communities and peoples who did not believe in the sacrament, if we share the sacrament, we can be punished. Then pretending to administer sacrament, the person will be punished. Then simony. So you are noting that so several places the penalty mentioned Canon 1336 is mentioned because for more clarity, expiatory penalties can be given. So concerning simony, bribing someone to get something, the person can be punished. Then prohibited participation in some religious rites of other religions. So only the canon number is changed. Then profanation of consecrated species, only the number is changed. So, but the punishment is lattes nunc excommunication reserved to the apostolic see. But along with that, one more is added now. See, not only profanation of sacred species, but consecration of a sacred species for sacrilegious purpose. See, suppose a priest consecrating sacred species, it is not for the sake of giving the people, but to give for to celebrate Black Mass. Consecration of sacred species for sacrilegious purposes, the priest can be very seriously punished. Then 1383, trafficking. Okay, 1383, trafficking mass offerings. The punishment was just penalty. Now the punishment will be expiatory penalty. Then 1384, absolution of a partner in sin against sixth commandment. Only the number is changed. The punishment is the same. Lattes and excommunication reserved to the apostolic see. Sin of solicitation. At the context of confession, the confessor is soliciting a penitent to commit sin against sixth commandment. It's the same. Punishment is the same, but the number is changed. Then 1386, violation of the seal of confession. If somebody breaks directly, revealing the name and sin of the penitent, the punishment is the same. Lattes and excommunication reserved to the apostolic see, but the number is changed. Then interpreters in the confessional. Somebody is interpreting the penitent's confession to the confessor. He or she is also bound to keep the secrecy. The canon is the same, but number is changed. See, now it is interesting to note a new addition. See, now we are all in the world of media. So using mobile, now we have to be very careful that when priests give confession, people may record what you speak in the confessional. So a new punishment is added: recording in the sacramental confession and divulging it through social communication. Suppose the penitent is recording what you say in the confessional, or you are recording, the priest is recording what the penitent is speaking. So the both can be punished. Serious punishment can be given. Then 1387, consecration of a bishop without pontifical mandate. So if a bishop, we need 3 bishops, the principal consecrator and co-consecrators. 3 bishops ordain 1 priest as bishop. So all the 3 need pontifical mandate. If anybody ordains without pontifical mandate, the 3 ordaining bishops and the bishop ordained all are excommunicated. So therefore, so the punishment is the same. Lattes and excommunication reserved to the apostolic see, but number is changed. Then 1388, conferring orders without emissorial letters. For example, now you are Palatines, religious. When brothers are ordained, your superior will give a letter to the bishop inviting him to ordain you. That letter is called demissorial letters. Suppose one bishop ordains someone without demissorial letter, that bishop is suspended from giving orders for 1 year, and the person who receives the order is also ipso facto suspended. Okay. Now, receiving orders with a censure or irregularity. Somebody who is under punishment, if he receives orders, he can be punished. So that's a new addition. Then other unlawful exercise of sacred ministry. So other than all these mentioned, if any other offenses concerning sacraments take place, they can be punished. So these are the offenses which are put together under one title, offenses against sacrament. Now it is easy for the brothers to study and for all of us to understand. See, recently this semester I was teaching along with the moral theology professor. He was teaching so moral theology on confession, and then I was taking one credit course on canon law on confession. Then I taught them these offenses against sacraments. Then this was a question for them: what are the offenses against sacraments? Now, Title 4, offenses against reputation and offense of falsehood. The whole title was false accusation. Title 5 speaks about but they are all same. So I did not include here 1390 and 1391. It's the same. There is no change in the canons. Now, Canon Title 5, offenses against special obligations, 32 to 96. See, now it's very interesting. Now, 1392 is a new canon, cleric abandoning sacred ministry for 6 months continuously. So recently I hear that from one of the dioceses nearby, a priest immediately goes to England without any letter from the bishop. So now he was in parish, he was a parish priest. Now that's the reason he abandoned his parish and went abroad. So for 6 months continuously, he can be punished with the canon 1336. That is, he can be either an order given, prohibition, deprivation, or a dismissal of clerical state can be as punishment can be given, expiatory penalty. Then 1393, cleric and religious engaging in business, doing some private business. See, as a congregation or as a diocese, we do certain establishments so that we get income and we are self-sufficient. That is different. But a priest or religious doing some private business for him or for his family. So now it is modified, so they also can be punished according to 1336. Now a new addition, clerico-religious committing offense in financial matters. See, you have already noticed this revision gives very importance for accountability, transparency, sincerity in financial matters. Now, a new addition, if a cleric or religious commit offense in financial matters, stealing money or mismanagement or not properly administering financial matters, they can be punished according to 1336, that is expiatory penalty. Then 1394, a cleric who attempts marriage, a priest goes and registers marriage, or religious priest goes and registers marriage. So, late sentencia suspension, automatically suspended from the ministry. Now, a religious who is not a cleric, attempts marriage. So the canon is the same. Then 1395 speaks about a cleric living in concubinage without marrying, living with someone, with another man or with another woman or with a child, living in concubinage. So it's also punished. There is no change. The same canon is repeated. Now, a cleric offended other ways of sixth commandment. So the canon remains, but some modifications have been made. And so what I have struck off is taken into another canon, paragraph 3. A cleric by force, threats, or abuse of authority commits an offense against the sixth commandment. So a cleric who by force, threats, or abuse of his authority commits an offense sixth commandment of the Decalogue, or forces someone to perform or submit to sexual acts, is to be punished with the same penalty. Okay, so they will be seriously punished. Then 1396 is the same, violation of the obligation of residence. See, all of us have obligation of residence. A religious is obliged to reside in the house where you have the appointment. bishop in the diocese, parish priest in the parish, all of us are obligation of residence. So if we violate it, so we can be punished. But there is no change. The canon is the same. Then the final canons, offenses against human life, dignity, and liberty, 1397 and 1398. 1397 is modified. It speaks about homicide, abduction, imprisonment, mutilation, wounding, etc. So they are to be punished according to 1336, that is expiatory penalty. Now, paragraph 2 about abortion. Abortion. Actually, it was Canon 1398. Now it is 1397, paragraph 2. The punishment is abortion incurs late sentence excommunication, automatic excommunication. Now, you know, from 2015, all the priests are given the faculty to absolve the excommunication of abortion. Now, paragraph 2, actually, okay. Now, third one is an addition. If clerics are involved in these offenses, if the clerics are involved in abortion or homicide or other offenses, he can be even dismissed from clerical states. And then the last one, 1398 is the new addition, as Father has mentioned in the introduction, because the new changes have taken place in the society, especially about against minors. So there is a canon added, 1398 offenses committed against minors. First one, offense committed by clerics. A cleric is to be punished with deprivation of office and with other just penalties, not excluding dismissal from clerical state. If he commits an offense against this commandment of the law with a minor or with a person who habitually has an imperfect use of reason, or with one to whom the law recognizes equal protection, a priest can be punished, cleric can be punished. If he grooms or induces a minor or a person who habitually has an imperfect use of reason, or one to whom the law recognizes equal protection to expose himself or herself pornographically, so use of pornography, exposing minors to pornography, can be punished. Then immorally acquires, retains, exhibits, distributes in whatever manner and by whatever technology pornographic images of minors or of persons who habitually have an imperfect use of reason. So, using children for pornographic images, collecting, distributing, taking pictures, etc., the cleric can be punished. The same offences, if they are committed by a member of Institute of Consecrated Life or Society of Apostolic Life, or any one of the faithful who enjoys a dignity or performs an office or function in the church, who commits the same offense, they can also be punished according to Canon 1336, the expiatory penalty. Okay, so I explained, maybe it was a little haste because we had to complete with the 45 minutes. So I have explained all the changes made from Canon 1311 till 1399. These are the canons of penal law. These are the additions, omissions, and changes in the revision of the penal laws of the Latin Code of the Church. So I hereby conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Saji. Truly, you need, or you are. We need to give you a standing ovation for all that you spoke, for the clarity with which you explained to us, the penalties, especially the offenses committed against the sacraments, offenses committed by the clerics, and offenses committed against human life dignity. It was very beautiful take off from what Father Ignatius Eka had laid the foundation in the first session. And I would say you are a great mason, you can call it. You laid another stone over the foundation laid by Father Eka. And that you are very symmetrical and very analytical and very true to the point you want to express by yourself. And it was very much crystal clear, especially when it came to the offenses committed by the clerics, both with regard to the sacramental celebrations or offenses which involve clerics in the area of human life and dignity. And therefore, thank you very, very much, Father, for having given us such a wonderful illustrative elucidation of your topic of the penal laws on the additions and omissions involved in the revised text. Thank you so much, Father, for your
Thank
great
you.
presentation.
Thank you, Father. Thank you.
So participants, now we have just 10 minutes to left, 10 to 12 minutes. We shall restrict ourselves to a few questions. Then again, the convener again will like to thank Father once again for his presentation. Therefore, maybe we will take 10 minutes now, shall we? And then
Yes.
then a few questions to the point, looking for a clarity. Father's main concern was to explain clarity for those who apply the law. That is why the revision of the text was implemented. Therefore, we need to be clear on what we are asking, what response we like to hear from him, and therefore, to the point, precise questions, a few within this period of 10 minutes. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, Johnson, David. Yes, Johnson.
First of all, thank you for simplifying the laws. It is very easy to grasp whatever you spoke. My question is, you spoke about innocent until it is proven. Pope Francis said, you said that. My question is, those who are in the main office, unless it is proven, till that point, from the accused point till that is proven, are they allowed to continue their office, or for some prohibition is there?
Okay, brother. So it's a good question. It's a very difficult situation. So now we have to be very, very careful. So especially confessors and those who are teaching in the schools, those formators in the seminary, there can always be an allegation on pedophilia on the superiors. See, the general principle is when there is an allegation, the culprit has the person on whom the allegation is placed, he has to be removed from the office. Usually, we call the suspension. That means for the sake of investigation, the person remains away from the office. That's a normal procedure done, either a bishop or, for example, the case of Bishop Franco. So the investigation is going on. So he is removed from the office, but now court has judged that he is innocent. He is innocent. So he is removed from the office, but he remains as a bishop. He is in the bishop's house. That's a typical example we have. But now one development Pope Francis has made. So recently there was a document. In every diocese there should be an office consisting of 3 or 5 persons, an office for dealing with pedophilia cases, so that the persons who have an allegation, they can speak, the victims can speak, so that the priests have the possibility to prove their innocence. There should be an office in the. So we were all asked to establish an office and give our information to the nunciature. We all gave from every diocese. So it is the duty of this office to investigate or interview with the priest or a person so that he may prove his innocence. Then when he is proved innocent, or he is, for example, now the case of Cardinal Pell in Australia, he is now proved innocent. He was in the jail, but now after some time the court says he is innocent. But he can be reinstigated when he is proved innocent.
Does the church prescribe a time limit for this, or it's an ongoing battle between the moment you are accused until the moment you are proven not guilty? Is there a time limit, or simply as the investigation goes on, you take your own period of time?
In canon law, there is no time limit is given, but the diocese has to do the process. And if the person is proved guilty, now recently, along with this, on 8th of December 2021, there is another document has come, the grave delicts which are reserved to the Congregation of the Doctrine of Faith. This is one of the delicts. abuse against minors, all the documents are to be sent to Congregation of the Doctrine of Faith. But it is not automatic reserve. It is not an automatic reserve delict. But all the proceedings are to be sent to Congregation of the Doctrine of Faith if the person is found guilty. Otherwise, so we can declare the person free. But there is no time limit given. It goes on, no? Because it affects both canon law and civil law. So it's very difficult situation.
Also, is there any provision in the law to restitute the good name lost when the accused is proven not guilty? Is there any provision in the law of the church, or I do not know, if a person is accused of such a let us say a very bad crime, and then he is morally and spiritually down, and then suddenly you prove that he is not guilty. Now, what shall we do?
So the law doesn't say anything, but there is the natural justice. Now, for example, in the case of Cardinal Pell, he was holding a high position in Vatican, so he had to go back, and he was in the jail. Now he is freed, he is declared innocent, but how can we restitute? It's very difficult, very difficult.
Okay.
Maybe in the civil forum we can again go for battling with the court, asking for an amount of money. That can be done.
For a compensation, probably.
In the church, maybe a bishop can declare, and a person's good name can be restituted by the diocese doing taking some measures.
Maybe the diocese also can give few lakhs to the accused. Okay, Johnson, is the answer clear to you? Yeah. Next one, anybody? I guess Savio, Anthony, yeah. Please give the mic.
Adding to the same question, is there any procedure if the one person is found guilty, not found guilty, is there any procedure in the church? A person is found not guilty.
Yeah.
Is there any procedure that written documents how to go about? A person is found not guilty.
Father, did
I understood. Yeah. So actually, no written procedure is given. So actually, we have to make some procedures. So I said no. So from Rome, through the nunciature, there was a request to establish in every diocese there is an office for dealing with the offences against minors. So there is a procedure is given how to handle the cases, because without revealing the name, without damaging the case, damaging the name of the alleged person. Okay, that's one part. Then afterwards, there is no written form is given, but all of us, maybe in the religious institutes or by the diocese, we have to take utmost care, because a priest is so precious. When an allegation comes, we cannot simply throw a priest out of our community or out of the church. We have to be so careful that we should always, it is our duty, because he is our own brother, our duty to see that if he has not done to prove his innocence, do everything to prove his innocence and to bring him back to the community or to the diocese. So we have to take measures, very serious measures, if the person is innocent.
Savio, is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. One more. Yeah.
Father, and one more question.
Yeah, please. I think this can be the last question since
could
there
you
is
please-
an urgent meeting. Yeah, please tell me. Yeah. Please. Yeah. Please tell me. But I don't hear the question.
Would you explain the concept of interdict when you explained about the excommunication, no? Excommunication, interdict. The question is, can you explain little more further on the question of interdict? What is interdict and how it is incurred and all that?
Yeah. See, I said no, it's almost similar. The prohibitions are almost similar. Excommunication and interdict. Excommunicated person is prohibited to celebrate mass, prohibited from participating in the celebration, prohibited from exercising certain office, etc. But an excommunicated person is out of the community and he has also prohibitions. But in interdict, in the case of interdict, the person is not out of the community, but he has some prohibitions, mainly concerning liturgical activities. This does not affect the administrative activities, the administration of administration or governance. Interdict does not affect the aspects of governance. Interdict affects only the aspects of liturgical activities, celebrating mass or celebrating the sacraments, etc. So one will, in the case of excommunicate, the person has a prohibition remaining out of the community. Interdict, remaining within the community, the person has to undergo these prohibitions. That's the main difference. And interdict is mainly concerning liturgical aspects only, but excommunication has both prohibitions in liturgical aspects and administrative aspects.
Yeah, thank you, Father.
Thank you.
I saw your hand going up. Yeah.
Father, we shall conclude.
Excuse me, Father Shaji.
Yeah.
One last question, Father.
In a possible question of conflict with the civil law, what must be upheld? Because I asked this question in the context of a cardinal recently when he was a question of restitution. In a case of misappropriation of the ecclesiastical property was there, he answered, I am accountable only to the canon law and not to the civil law. So my question is, in a question of conflict between civil law and the canon law, which must be upheld?
See, we have to respect both. In India, we follow canon law, and we also speak about canonization of civil law. Wherever civil law is to be observed, for example, concerning property, marriage, adoption, we have to always respect civil law. And whenever there is a case, naturally, civil law will see whether we have followed canon law. For example, a bishop has alienated property, the civil law will show whether he has consulted the proper college of consultors, senate, etc. And then, civil law will always check whether we have observed canon law or whether we have observed civil law, both. But very often, when we defend our rights, our advocates have least knowledge about canon law, and we fail to explain canon law in the court. Therefore, we fail in many cases.
Excuse me, Father. I have another question with regard to in case a person in his old age or when he is vulnerable, he undergoes a sanction, and then he is no more able to enjoy the privileges of being a cleric or something like that. And therefore, are there any measures in the canon law to protect such persons who are vulnerable, especially if somebody is a religious is old and then she is excommunicated, she has nobody or no one to take care of her, no financial setup, etc. So, are there any measures to support such people?
Yeah, surely. So they all belong to natural justice. And the concern of religious, it is said, no, when a religious is dismissed, we should always consider. So in the dismissal, we have to take consideration justice and equity. Proper remuneration is to be given. Some measures to rehabilitate the person. That the natural justice should be done.
Thank you, Father. Yeah, thank you, brothers.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Father, 1 minute. Our convener will conclude the whole session. Yeah.
I thank Reverend Dr. Shaji for wonderfully elaborating the topic, for clarifying the topic in a methodical, orderly, organized, and in a systematic way. Thank you, Father.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, fathers, and thank you, brothers. I take leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Father. We will miss you.
Thank you.
We will hope to
Thank
hear you
you.
again at another time when we have a
Thank
chance.
you,
Thank you, Father.
Thanks.
I also thank Reverend Dr. John Peter for moderating this session. Please give him a big round of applause. Gratitude can turn common days into thanksgiving, routine jobs into joy, and change ordinary opportunities into blessings. May I now invite Brother Stijin to propose vote of thanks.
Hello. Respected fathers, sisters, candidates, online viewers, and all my dear friends, A warm good morning to one and all present over here. I stand here with utmost privilege to express gratitude to all of you present over here. Book of Sirach, chapter 1, verse 1 tells, all wisdom comes from the Lord and is with him forever. Let's now pause for a while and acknowledge our Creator and source of all wisdom. Again, the book of Sirach, chapter 19, verse 20 reads, all wisdom is a fear of the Lord, and in all wisdom there is the fulfillment of the law. I now specially express my heartfelt gratitude to our competent speakers of the day, namely Reverend Dr. Ignatius Eka, SAC, and Reverend Dr. Shaji German. I quote here the words of Isaac Newton, who tells, I feel like a small child who has picked up a few pebbles from the shores of vast ocean, but the vast ocean of truths lies unexplored before my eager eyes. Thank you, dear fathers, for the sharing of your vast knowledge on the relevant topic, especially imparting to us with much clarity and much precision. Give them a good round of applause. I also express my gratitude to all the fathers present over here for your blissful presence and for being moderating the conference. Thank you, dear fathers. I now thank all the sisters of different congregation, candidates, and all the online viewers for your valuable presence, which has added beauty and variety to this conference. Thank you. I now thank you especially all my dear brothers for your warm and active presence, which surely will have repercussions in our lives ahead. Thank you, my dear brothers. Once again, thank you for all.
Thank you, brother, for your words of gratitude. With this, we have come to the end of the first day of the conference on the amendments to the Book 6 of the Code of Canon Law. We shall meet tomorrow at 9 a.m. for the second day of the conference. Thank you.